I'm out here doing a video because no, so I made this list because earlier than everyone else at their homesteaders, you know, the pictures of their garden, their harvests, and all this, and everyone around me is also gardening and getting their crops in. And I have nothing. But then I sat down and I made a list of all the things I have learned so far, and it's not nearly even close to all the things I will learn, but so far, all the things I have learned to, um, and I thought, since I have this, I might as well jump in here and I can share it. This is stuff, and if you search on the internet things to forage in East Texas, there will be other things on here, but on my particular piece of land, I don't go out and forage on public lands, or I have not yet. I forage on my family's private land, which I am blessed to have that. We have a lot of stuff here anyway. But basically, I just stay in my own backyard. But there's so much that we already have just here. And this is just, for me, it's not anything you can find in the area. Asparagus, starting with in the springtime things and then going through summer, fall, winter. Asparagus, we have tons of asparagus that my dad planted years ago, and he has continued to plant it, and he got some that actually make their own seeds, so it's naturalizing itself, or should be able to have wild asparagus plants popping out here soon. And if we continue to take care of it as we should be doing it, then we're gonna have asparagus in the spring, and that would be cool. And then henbit and dead nettle, they're purple wildflowers that are, they're not very caloric. They don't eat any of those, but you can make a tea out of it, and it's like a medicinal kind of tea. Similar things. I like henbit better than dead nettle. Henbit is more for stomach problems. For everyone, dead nettle is a little bit more of like women's menstrual stomach cramps, but they both can be helpful with anyone who's having stomach upsets. Dandelions are also there. I have not done them yet, but I have seen them and I have spotted them, and it's locked in for next year. You can eat all of them, but you can also make jelly from the flowers I've seen, or syrup, jelly, syrup, whatever you want to do. And as far as like having a few extra calories and stuff, if you wait until the yellow dandelion becomes its little puffball with the seeds, you can take a lighter and you can just burn all the puffy stuff off, and the seeds get lightly toasted, and then you can eat them by the handful, and you can just have some extra calories that way if you're going for that. I hear they're kind of like poppy seeds. Like if you were to store them, you could put them on recipes like poppy seeds, or like I said, you can just eat them at the end. And they're mulberries and blackberries. And I have eaten them, and yes, we do have some wild blackberries here, and I also have some thornless plants that also do well here. But about 15 years ago, I mean, we used to have tons and tons of blackberry plants here. And then there were a couple of years where the bees really were not doing well, and it was also a drought, and all the blackberry plants kind of receded for a while, and they got taken over by muscadine grapes. And I know a lot of people that just love muscadine grapes. I think they're okay. I mean, they're a useful plant, but they're not my favorite. I like blackberries much more. So I'm planning on growing a bunch of blackberries and starting more mulberries. And my thinking is, even though I don't grow things well, if they do okay by themselves, then if I just move them from the woods a little closer to my house where they can be conveniently located, then nature can continue taking care of them, and I don't have to do very much. That's my mindset. Don't know if that'll work yet, but that's the hope. And then that's about the tail end of spring with blackberries. And then we get into summer where, as far as I know, there's not much new as far as like food crops that grows wild in summer. Like there's the ragweed starts coming up, and the horseweed and pigweed, all the weeds that are very good for animal forage and fodder. But as far as like human consumption foods, I mean, there are things that you can plant that do okay in the summer, but around here, just everything except, the woods are just crispy grass. That's all it is. It's not like you can go out and find food. That I know of. I haven't done that yet. The only thing that I've really found so far that seems like it could be a viable option in the summer, in the future, are pokeberries, because they make this beautiful, vibrant, pinky purpley dye. And I'm thinking, a DIY cosmetic, and DIY, fabric dyeing. And I think they'll be great for that. If you follow me, you've seen me do the whole face paint with the pokeberries along my cheeks there. That's always fun. Doesn't stick though, like the moment it touches water, it just goes right away. But those are fun. And that's pretty much it for summer that I found so far. And then the fall, we've got all the nuts. not getting into the nuts yet. We've got muscadines, which come ripe in the fall. Like the very end of summer and fall is when the muscadines come in, and then the beauty berries start ripening about the same time, maybe slightly after. And then we've got chestnuts and pecans and acorns and any other nut that I don't know about yet. I'm planning on this year to really hit the nuts hard. And then after that, we get into winter where, nothing new really grows, but the pine needles on pine trees, they're there. They make a great medicinal tea. And the juniper, which cedar trees, technically are juniper trees, and they make these little berries that if you collect them, they apparently are really great for seasoning, particularly wild game meat and stuff. Juniper is apparently really good for that. I'm hoping this winter to get much juniper and some pine needles and make pine and cedar incense and have that be a fun Christmassy thing, especially for gifts. I think that would be fun. And then all winter long, I'm gonna be cracking the acorns and stuff because apparently that's what I do. This last year, I found the acorns, and I have video after video after video of me gathering the acorns and washing the acorns and bleaching the acorns and cooking with the acorns. Apparently, I love acorns, but I don't think I love the acorns so much. But acorns are like prolific. They're the one natural plant that produces so much, just like wheat. A wheat plant, it's like the same amount of abundance, and then you can press the acorns and use them just like flour, like wheat flour, and it's great. Apparently you can also make a flour out of chestnuts, I've heard, and there are a bunch of Italian recipes, I believe, that use chestnut flour. I may have to try that out this year as well. But the acorns in particular, and they're naturally gluten-free, which is good for me since I have a gluten intolerance, so I can make all the things with it. And actually, the acorn starch acts very similar to the gluten protein. Like it sticks in the same way and it binds. If you read gluten-free recipes, they'll typically use things like xanthan gum or guar gum or flax eggs or different things like that. And the best thing that I found, and bonus for me because it's free, is I can use like a teaspoon of acorn flour instead of, a teaspoon of xanthan gum. And I never found that the xanthan or the flax eggs or any of that really held my baked goods together, my gluten-free baked goods. But the acorn flour, it does. and they do sell acorn starch on Amazon. I'm sure if you go on Etsy, lots of people have actual acorn flour. I mean, acorn starch and acorn flour are pretty much the same thing. People kind of separate them, but they're kind of the same thing. It's the same process, and you can get both. One just has more starch, and one is more of just the floury part, but it's all kind of the same. And you can get that on Amazon. It is pretty expensive though, so be careful. Or you can just go into your yard or down your street and find a local oak tree and, process them. And in a month, you'll have acorn flour of your own. And you can be like, gather this myself. I'm so fancy. But yeah. And then, I haven't gotten them yet, but I want to get goats. I have a rabbit. I used to have 6 rabbits. Right now I have 1 rabbit, but he's hanging on. He's doing great. I want to get more rabbits. I want to get goats, because with the goats, I will have milk, and I can make like a bunch of rustic recipes with, because I've got the flour, I've got different types of stuff. I can do flavorings or jellies or different things. And if I also had a source of dairy to where I'd have dairy, could make cheese. Goats can make butter, but it's a little more difficult than if you had a cow. But a bull is harder to keep than a male goat. I think I haven't done it, but just from the size comparison, I think that I could wrangle a male goat better than I could wrangle a male cow. But I'm sure there are going to be people in here that are like, girl, you are not going to be able to get either one of those, because males are crazy. Of any species, they're crazy, which is true. But bear with me, I'm learning. So, but yeah, once I have dairy and the flour and the different flavorings of fruits, and I have all that stuff, I'll actually be able to make nearly 100% dishes of some sort. Don't have a source of sugar. That is something I'm looking into. I haven't gotten there yet, but we're working on it. I'm so excited because I see all these things about, if you learn to forage, you can get your own food, or garden, either one. And so those, I feel like a lot of those things are lying to us, because, yes, you can use these methods to feed yourself totally. However, what is shown on 90% of those things are, the greens, the very seasonal fruits, the very seasonal vegetables, and they don't show a whole bunch of the calorie crops. Or if they do, they'll show potatoes or something. And yes, potatoes are a calorie crop, but you would have to change your diet so much. And if I want to grow like adjacent things, like here's what I'm used to, I want to grow something adjacent to that I can make into what I need and what I'm used to. And that's my goal anyway. And that's why I got the acorn so much. Because, like, for example, if you have acorn flour, you can use acorn flour, and if you have acorns and a dairy animal, you could make a pie crust, and you could make an almost cream cheese from that same dairy animal. And then from the berries or other flavors that you have at the time, you can make some sort of jam on top, and you could sweeten it with either honey or some of the other sugar staples that I know are out there and I just haven't gotten to yet. And you have a rustic, straight from the farm, essentially cheesecake. You have a rustic cheesecake. And, you know, if you're trying to sustain yourself on the farm and have any semblance of normalcy, you know, you might want to say, oh, hey, it's Easter, or it's Christmas, or it's another celebratory day. Usually, let me make a fun cheesecake and we can feel like we're normal. You know, the power has gone out, or if something else has happened, or if you can't get to the store for some reason or another. It can be like a rock in the store. There's something to anchor you to be like, this is that one thing that I can hold on to and be normal. You know, I feel like we might be coming upon some hard times, and anything that I can learn now to make it easier at that time is good. There will be so much other hard stuff at that time that I don't need to just add changing my diet over as well. So that's what I'm doing all now. And the actual goal is that I get to where I can live my life day to day with the food or whatever. Almost like, and I have not met any Amish people, but almost that idea of being able to function well 100% without anything. So if the day comes when the world just goes dark or something, I can just keep on trucking without missing a beat. And everything will be normal for me. The world out there can burn, and that'll be sad. This, where I am, can be like a little oasis where my family and I can be, and if there's a traveler coming through, they might be here and be like, oh, I like this. Because, you know, hopefully we'll be functioning well enough to attract good people at that time. We might attract non-good people, which I don't have a plan for today. But if we attract good people, that'll be great. And if we could get more workers, which we'll need at the time, because it'll kind of be like you really have to do it when there is no safety net of run to the store. And that, in this scenario, anyway, to circle back to the beginning, I may not have accomplished a whole lot of things that are just here all the time, but I have learned quite a bit. And even though there's not as much now, like I didn't have a huge major harvest because I was learning a lot of this, so I pretty much collected what I needed to do my experiments, and I learned if I liked it or not. And then this year was the year that's like with the chestnuts. Like this year, I can actually go harder on the chestnuts. Oh, what's for dinner? I don't know. Alarm. I had an alarm that was saying, what's for dinner? And it's fun to think about that, because that's ruined. But yeah, I've gone through and I found this stuff, and this year I'll actually be able to gather more things. Like even the acorns, I did get a lot last year, but I got a whole bunch more. But I found out, sadly, that I was storing them the wrong way, because I thought, oh, I can just stick them in the freezer and they'll be fine. Don't do that. Acorns do not like that. Even if they're in the shell, they don't like that. They prefer to be dry and stay pretty much at room temperature. That's why the acorns that like turn into trees after the winter, they're buried a few inches in the dirt and they turn into trees, and the dirt like insulates them. They're not just anyway. There's a whole bunch that I'm actually gonna be able to get on this year. And for anyone looking for something easy to do, to be like, oh, I did this. If you want to just do, it's kind of a fleeting feeling, but if you want to get some free face paint for a day, just around this time, the summertime, go out, find a pokeberry plant, and they're not good for eating. Do not eat them. I mean, it won't kill you, probably, unless you eat, like, basketful. But, yeah, just get it and you can do some purpley face paint for a day. Or one of the next easiest things is if you have a pine tree near you and you can eat the needles, if you take a handful of pine needles and put them in water, like for a tea, then that tea is actually really, really high in vitamin C. And that's probably the easiest thing. That's one of the things that I started with. It's super easy. And then you have a medicinal tea. Can't really, I think some people save the pine needles for like tea on the go. I don't do that. I just go out to the tree in my backyard because pine needles are around all year round. I mean, it's not like it ever stops. Like, you have to harvest and then you wait. They're always gonna be there. And just get a handful of pine needles. Tea. It's really great if you're feeling kind of sick, or if someone else is feeling kind of sick, or you have like the sniffles. It's great for like the winter time. If you're feeling kind of sniffly, some people are like, oh, drink your orange juice or eat your citrus and get your vitamin C. But you can also just make pine needle tea, which is great because orange trees do not grow super well where pine trees grow, I believe. They definitely don't here. But there you go, free vitamin C. And so far, that's what I have right now. Also, beauty berries, which I don't have a good one to show you right now because they're not in season. But they make these vibrant purple berries, and the leaves are really good for keeping mosquitoes away. But the berries are also really high in, I don't remember if it was vitamin C as well, but antioxidants. It's almost like similar nutritional value as a blueberry. And honestly, if they're raw, I think they taste pretty similar too. I mean, if you have the roasted blueberry flavor or the cooked blueberry, those have a lot of flavor and it's totally different. But if you're just picking them off the bush and eating them, they taste pretty similar to me anyway. Like, I don't feel like either has an astounding flavor. Honestly, beauty berries might even taste better raw. But I digress. But antioxidants. I was eating them last year when I think I not broke my leg, but cracked my bone in my leg. That was a fun time. But I was like, husband, go get, those purple berries over there? I need you to go get me some. And I got there and I was eating them, and I'm sure he thought that was an odd request, but I sure did. And even though I couldn't really collect them at the time because I could barely leave the house, it was a bad bone crack. But I clocked it for this year to be able to gather a bunch this year. And I also had 2 cuttings that I started this year so that I could spread the beauty berries. And I have since found another quite large bush that I can do more cuttings of. I need like 100 beauty berry plants just scattered around that I can just go and love on the leaves and not crush them up, but hug my plant and they can help keep mosquitoes away. And then berries, birds love the berries. You can make jelly out of them, and once you pour a bunch of sugar on top, they taste fantastic. I'm actually thinking I might need to get into cactus. I've never been into cacti, like growing cacti, but they're easy to grow. A lot of them, some of them for sure, make cactus fruit. And I know prickly pear, the actual pads of the cactus are edible as well. And I feel like cacti are real apocalypse food. And even though I really am not interested in the spikes and all that, I feel like if I'm really gonna delve into this, I might need to delve in that too, but that remains to be seen. I'm not that excited about that. I feel like they should stay out in the desert, but in the summer this almost becomes a desert, so maybe I really need to look into it. But I need to go back in the house. I hope y'all have enjoyed this chat as much as I have. I enjoyed being outside and talking to some people that I believe are listening. You may not be. Apparently there's one person on here right now, person, but I'm gonna go check on family and children, and y'all continue enjoying this Wednesday. I think it's Wednesday. Bye.